everyone, and welcome to Shauna Stitches. I'm Shauna, and this is my podcast about knitting and other fiber-related crafts. You can see Cody is over there, and if you've watched before, you're very familiar with him. I will probably have to put him out of the room at some point. This is episode number 40. I did this, 40. Cody, sit. Yes, if you are a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back. And if you're a new viewer, thank you very much for checking me out. I've noticed that I have quite a few new subscribers lately. So if you're new, a huge welcome to you. I hope you enjoy the podcast. If you don't, there's plenty others that you can check out. I have so much to show you guys. It's been 2 weeks since I podcast last. I actually was going to podcast last Friday. But I had some things I was just finishing up, and I really wanted to be able to show those to you finished rather than in progress. So that is why I waited. I have to show you guys this first because it's awesome. My Fa La La Llama mug. I got this at Kitchen Caboodle, which I think is a chain, but I found it in Portland, Oregon. It's just so cute. And I will use this all year round. It doesn't have to be Christmas time. Speaking of Christmas time, it is 2 days after Thanksgiving. We just had Black Friday yesterday. So I hope that you guys were able to spend some time with your family or friends or alone if that's what you wanted to do. But I just hope that you had a great day and ate some good food because food's amazing. Let's see. I'm going to jump right in with some finished objects. The first finished object I have is the tied knots hat. I don't remember the designer names for, I don't think, any of these patterns that I'm going to show you, but I do have a Ravelry page for everything. You can find me under Shauna Stitches on Ravelry, YouTube, Facebook, Ravelry groups, Instagram. That's the big one I was forgetting. I think that's everything. But anywhere you look, I am Shauna Stitches, so I don't think there's anyone else using that name. Anyway, this is the tied knots hat. I absolutely love this pattern. It's a free cabled hat pattern on Ravelry. And I use the suggested needle size. This is Knit Picks Swish Worsted is the yarn. I don't remember the colorway name of this one, but it's really a different color than it's showing up on the screen. That could be because I'm wearing like neon pinky orange, which is also not the right color on screen. But this is like a frosty blue, I think is a good way to describe it. It reminds me of the movie Frozen, which I've never actually seen. So this is going to screw up my hair, but we all know I don't actually care, so. There you go. Anyway, I think it's cute. It hasn't been blocked. None of my finished objects have been blocked yet because I'm like a hat knitting machine right now, and I plan on just kind of blocking everything together once I'm done. I'm in Christmas knitting mode, which I've never actually done before. It's stressing me out like this much, but I only have one more hat to finish to be done with what I am telling myself I have to be done with, and everything else is just kind of like icing on the cake. So yeah, I think this is a really great pattern. I enjoyed knitting it. It was easy. I've knit so many hats now, I'm not remembering if this one was charted or written or whatnot, but since it's free, you can always download it, and if it doesn't suit your needs, then move along. There's so many hat patterns out there right now, and I was just overwhelmed by how many free options there are. There's some great paid-for patterns too, but most of my gifts are free patterns, just because I didn't want to spend a ton. I guess I'm cheap, I don't know. Plus I'm making like, well, when all is said and done, if I make as many hats as I want to make, I'm going to make something like 12 hats, and that is a lot of hats. I don't know about you guys either, but I don't really like re-knitting patterns either. I would definitely knit the tied knots again. Speaking of a reknit pattern, the second finished object I have is the antler hat. And I do believe this is the swish worsted also from Knit Picks. I think this is the charcoal heather color. And I have made this pattern before. I made it in the baby size, but this is the first time I've made it adult size. This one I do know it's by Tin Can Knits. I really enjoy this pattern. This hat is the hat that I learned to cable without a cable needle on, and actually like this hat that's in my hand, not the baby one. I'm so excited that I finally figured that out because I really thought that was never something I was going to try. Can you believe this guy? Has to be center of the show. But yeah, anyway, I am enjoying the cabling without a cable needle. There's a lot of tutorials out there. I know I watched the Very Pink Knits one, and I tried it that way for a while. I didn't love it, and then I can't tell you which one I watched after that, but there is another one that I liked better. Actually, the one that I think I liked the most was by Andy of 10,000 Stitches, and she was showing how to do it on socks, but it works just the same for a hat. So let me try this one on for you. There you go. I really like this pattern. Actually, I think I like cabled hats in general, even though I'm not a huge fan of knitting cabled hat. Well, knitting hats. I really, let me go off on a side tangent here. So I talked to you about these Knitter Pride Melodies a few podcasts ago, and I just got them because I really wanted to try them because I enjoyed zings. And although these are called melodies, they're a lot like a zing with the metal tip and the colored shaft of the needle. And I just thought it was going to be another set to add to my collection that I was going to be able to use. And actually I found that they work so well for hats. So that is what I've been using on all my hats. The only thing I can say is sometimes I wish that the point was just a little bit sharper, but they're pretty good. I mean, they're not a haya, they're not a chiagu, but they're just like one step down from that. And what I love about it is that I can use the needles attached to a 16-inch cord, and it actually, I can go in a circle without having to magic loop. So until I start doing decreases, and then I magic loop. But I have found with other interchangeable sets that the needle is too long, and when you attach the 16-inch cord, it ends up doing something like this, and there's like these really sharp angles at the end of the needle, and it doesn't work well for knitting on a 16-inch, which I never quite understood, because I get it, you can knit flat back and forth, and that's fine, but the whole point, I thought, is to knit in the round. But yes, great solution. These things work wonderful. I've knit everything. Of course, everything is an adult size, but yeah, they've worked really, really well. And I love that it comes with the stoppers, so when I'm transferring over to a longer cable, I can put a stopper on it so the stitches don't come off, and I just think it's a really great set. Maybe they want to endorse me. Probably not. Anyway, nothing else to say about that. I did do one antler less than it called for because I feel like it's a pretty good size hat already. And as I said, it is not blocked, so it's going to grow a little bit at least. And if you want to see the size difference, these are both for adults, but unblocked, they're pretty close in size. And the third finished hat that I have is, I just literally finished maybe 20 minutes ago. It is called the Cabled Dad Hat, and Knit Picks Swish worsted again in the Lost Lake color. And this color is impossible to show what it actually looks like because it's showing up very gray. It shows up in my photos as gray. But one photo I was able to get where it's on my head, which I will insert a picture here if I remember. It's green because it's called Lost Lake. So it's kind of hard to describe, but it's like brown and gold and teal and blue, sort of all in one, but it shows up as gray. It's very interesting. So there is the cabled dad hat. This one could use a little more blocking than the others. It has some points where the decreases happened. But it is intended for someone with a bigger head than mine. So even if it doesn't block out all the way, I think once a head's in there, it's going to be fantastic. I really liked this pattern because it was super simple. The cable that you see here, it's not exactly a mock cable, but it's a free pattern, so I'll tell you. There's probably a technical name for this. I think they call it in the pattern a right twist, but it's where you knit into the second stitch, keep it on the needle, and then knit into the first stitch. And so you just kind of create a twisted stitch. And that's all that this uses. That and seed stitch, which I had never knit before, but holy cow, does it look really nice. Yeah, so 3 down. What did I say? Was it a total 12? Yeah, 3 down, 9 to go. I'm crazy. Anyway, that sounds about right. I'm not sure. My count might be off by 1 or 2, but some of the other hats, I have one more hat, well, maybe 2 more hats planned in the swish worsted. One is actually like about the same color as my sweatshirt. I'm very tempted to keep it for myself, but I know my friend will like it too. So, but other than that, I think a lot of my hats are gonna be in bulky or maybe super bulky. I'm not quite sure. What is 2 strands of DK together? Does that make a bulky or a super bulky? But that's kind of my plan for some of the other hats that I have to do. And my hope is that they will come off the needles quicker, but I'm still going to go for mostly cabled patterns. I just think there's something so classic looking about a nice cable hat. You know, the funny thing is too, I still have not knit myself a hat. It needs to happen. All right, more works. Well, I guess now we'll switch to works in progress because I actually have no more finished objects this week, guys. The first one I'm going to show you is in this really cool canvas, waxed canvas bag by Tanny Casey. And I'm probably spelling that wrong, but you should follow her on Instagram. She makes really beautiful bags. I have at least one other of hers, maybe 2. And she was using this one as sort of a promotion. I have mohair stuck all over it. Promotion for the, I think it's Hooker's Creations, I believe, whose house burnt down in California. So I did a good deed and I got a bag. So that was a win-win. Anyway, what is living in that bag is my birds of a feather. Can you tell I just like bright colors? Like everything is so bright. This has grown a lot because I want to say, yes, I did not have this on the needles. I remember I showed you the yarn, but I cast this on for the Blame Dunder Knit Along because I remember telling you guys I wasn't going to start this till sometime in the new year. But lo and behold, it is on the needles and I'm really enjoying it. I have probably about 150 stitches on the needle right now, and it goes up to just over 200. So I don't know. I feel like I'm making pretty good progress. Just a reminder, the mohair is totally blowing out, but it is a bright, bright pink called Psycho Barbie by Blue Moon Fiber Arts. And I'm holding that one strand at a time, just by itself. And I think it creates a pretty nice fabric. It's really airy and light and super soft, and I think it's going to be pretty warm. And the gray and pink is this sock yarn that I have from Ice Yarns. And if you will remember right, I chose these colors because they were in my stash. And in my mind, I keep thinking that 2019 is kind of what I'm making plans for, but obviously I'm implementing these plans already. But 2019 is going to be a knit from the stash kind of year. And I'm really quite excited about it because I have a lot of stash. If you guys haven't checked out my Instagram recently, I just did kind of a make 9 grid for 2019. And the goal isn't really to finish them all in 2019. If I do, that's amazing because 7 of the 9 are sweaters. And that's pretty insane because I've knit a few sweaters, but I definitely have not knit 7 sweaters. And I'm just super excited about them. So I know I can't remember all of them that are on that make 9, but yes, I'm going to make the breathing space. Oh my gosh, what can I think? I can always think of these things when it's not that I need to pull them up for out of my head just off the blue. Let me see. I'll insert a photo of what I plan on making, but pavement sweater, that's the one I was thinking of. So pavement, breathing space, weekender, Parisian dreams, radiate, the antler sweater, and then oh gosh, humulus, as well as the exploration station and doodler. Those are the things that are like on my list to make sure that I knit next. And I realize I'm a little slow sometimes, but I just finally figured out that you can match yarn from your stash into cued projects. And so all of those patterns that I just showed you, I have yarn for in my stash, or it's on its way because I did do a slight bit of damage on Black Friday shopping, but only just a slight. I didn't buy anything that I don't have a plan for, and it was just 2 projects, so pretty good. All right, still works in progress. This is Living in My Mrs. Brown Bags by Jody of the Grocery Girls. And you guys have seen this before. This is my cinema cowl. That's my name for it. It's a tubular cowl. And it is getting much longer. Like, I think it can wrap, oh yep, see, it could wrap around my neck once now. And I have a long way to go. So I did put a progress keeper in here the last time I showed you. And that's because I knew I was going to have a pretty big chunk of time to knit. I had one day, not last week, the week before, where I had to stay at work like 2 hours after work for a meeting, and then I knit through the meeting as well. So I got quite a bit done. And this is the exciting part. This little ball of yarn is getting much, much smaller. I'd say I probably have, I haven't weighed it, but it's probably a quarter of what I started with, and it's approximately 100 gram skein of this yarn here, Comfort Sock. I don't remember the name of this color. But just a quick recap, my plan is to knit through all of this, attach this, and then Kitchener them together here. So it's going to be one long tube, half this color, half this color. Kind of like the Tale as Old as Time cowl. Very much in that kind of theme, but my own design, which is to say it has no design. All right, last but not least, this I'm going to show you as a whip, but it is not going to look anything like this. So here you go. This I did show you before, and it's the Times Square hat by Mina Phillip. This is the first Christmas hat that I started, I don't know, 2 months ago. It was before I went to the Fiber Festival, before I bought my wheel, lots of projects ago. And I remembered that I didn't love this pattern when it was socks, and I still don't love it as a hat. So this is getting frogged. I'm going to start something else today. That's kind of been my secret about the hat knitting, is that literally when I cast one off, one gets back on the needles. So that being said, I'll be glad to add both this Haya Haya and the Chiagu back into my stash. In fact, I think I was looking for one of these. Nope, not the size I was looking for. This is a 4 millimeter. I was looking for a 3.75 yesterday, actually. But this is the Swish Worsted in the Indigo Heather, which is purpley and not showing up super true to color on screen, but it's a dark purple. So I know I picked a pattern for that, and I'm blanking on it. I think it's the boysenberry patch or something, but that's what that's going to become. All right, that is, actually I have one more work in progress to show you. And this one I just cast on last night because I had told you guys before that I was going to do the Adventurous Wrap, which is an advent calendar pattern. And I thought that pattern wasn't coming out until the 30th of November. And I looked at my Ravelry yesterday and it had come out already. Just yesterday it came out. And I think it's still at the discounted price of $5 versus $6 until the 30th. So yeah, the entire pattern is out. This is kind of what section 1 is going to look like, but I stopped. So I showed you guys before, and I don't have them all in here with me, but I bought 11 minis, 20 gram minis from Tiny Human Knits. The first one I'm using is this here, called Plain and Simple. It's mostly undyed with little specks of yellow and blue. So because all of those 20 gram minis are very neutral in color, my plan, oh, I forgot to grab something. Hold on one second. Hold that thought. Okay, I'm back. So anyway, my plan is to use the neutrals with a 25 gram or 25 skein mini grams, you know what I'm trying to say, minis. It's like an advent calendar, 25 of them, and they're only 5 grams. So I weighed this to see how much I had used, and right now I'm at 10 grams. But I had to do the cast on plus an extra row of knitting. So I still don't think I can get it done in 5 grams. The issue that I'm having is, it's hard to explain. I'll put a picture up here since there's more room over there. But you can see that the pattern has, it's not really a fade, but it will use this color, and then I'm going to stripe in the next color and then go back to this one for like a row or 2 or something like that, and then keep going with the first Advent Day color. So again, the problem that I'm having is I know that the Advent skeins that I have, being 5 grams, are not going to be enough to do one whole color. So I think I'm going to play it by ear because I can't quite visualize how it's going to turn out. But 1 or 2 things is going to happen. I am going to start the first Advent Day calendar, Advent Day mini. After this, stripe it in into this color and keep going with that 5 gram mini. What I am sort of confused about is whether or not I will use day 1 and 2 together to make one stripe, or if I will knit all of the 5 grams that I have and add in another neutral color to finish it out and then stripe in the next. I think that's what I'm more inclined to do. But I also can't figure out, does that mean that I will still have 25 sort of color stripes on there? Or, I mean, I know they're going to be more broken up, but like pattern repeats, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Or if I'm going to have more. I guess if I have more, it's fine because this seems like a pattern that's very repeatable. But I guess I'm just a little confused. So again, let me show you what the pattern looks like. Of course, it's lace, so it will block out a little bit nicer than it is here. Not gonna lie, this was kicking my butt last night. So I had to tink back some rows. I had to recast on, but it seems to be going much better now. Definitely something that I have to pay attention to. And in that regard, if I run into a lot of issues with this, especially with the color blocking, I'm very inclined to cast on just something garter and use what I have. And I've been hemming and hawing back and forth about that as it is. My only issue is if I do that, I want to knit the type of shawl that you can just keep knitting until you run out. And I don't know what that's called. If anyone knows what the shape of that shawl is called or can point me to a pattern, that you don't have to stop at a certain point. Like as long as you finish a row, you're done. That would be super helpful because quite honestly, I'm very worried about this pattern. I don't know that it's going to come out how I want it to. But that being said, let me show you my advent calendar. So I bought this last year after doing my minis where I just kind of closed my eyes and picked them out of a jar. And I thought this would be really fun. I bought my minis from Sock Yarn Swappers, and I knew that I was getting 25 different minis from, I don't know how many different dyers, but numerous dyers, and that they were coming in a package that you couldn't see into. So I thought that meant that they were each going to be individually wrapped. However, when they came packaged in essentially a black Ziploc bag, and so you couldn't see what was in there, but they were not individual. So I gave that package to Glenn. I was very responsible and smart. I gave it to Glenn, and he put them in here. And I can kind of see some of the color peeking out, but I really, truly have no idea what they're going to look like. So that's really exciting. I asked him, I said, "Are they pretty?" And he goes, "Some of them." So I don't know, but that's coming from the colorblind guy. So I hope they're going to be beautiful. It's really interesting because this is much different than knitting a square My Cozy Memories blanket, because that I care less about, I guess, because I'm not going to wear it. I guess that's my third option. If this goes really south, these are going to become squares in My Cozy Memories, which I haven't touched since last year. All right. I feel like I had a ton to show you guys, and I'm just whizzing right through it. So hopefully I'm not going too fast. The other thing I have to show you is in regards to my spinning. And I have a finished object. So if you remember, I showed you what this fiber looked like on the bobbin last week, just what the single looked like. So this is what it looks like plied up. This is a 2-ply. It is 100% Targhee, and I think it turned out absolutely beautiful. Plying took forever. So I started plying Wednesday after I recorded. So just a couple days after talking to you, it really got me motivated to get my wheel back out and to finish spinning what I had, because I knew I was pretty close. And then I started, I finished my singles and I started plying on Wednesday, and I thought it was going to take one evening. And an hour or two into plying, I was like, holy crap, this is going to take me forever. And I kept going and kept going. And so this is what kept me from podcasting last Friday, because instead of podcasting and not showing it or just showing a photograph, I decided to keep going. And I know I showed you guys before, if the twist is good in the skein, then that's what it should look like, meaning that it's not over twisted and kind of twisting back on itself. So while I don't know a ton about spinning, I do know that. Let me give you a little bit more of a close-up look of what some of the strands look like. So I got just a little bit of barber pulling in places, and I think it just looks really great. I forgot to bring my gauge in here, but this is thinner than lace weight. I haven't done the wrap thing, but it just kind of has like a groove in it where you can lay your finished yarn in there and it will tell you. So this is a total of 97 grams, and I got 694 yards. So yeah, I've looked at some patterns that I can make with this, and I think I picked out a shawl, possibly a lace weight shawl. So I had extra left over on my bobbin because even if you weigh out your grams or your ounces, whatever, and ply exactly the same onto each bobbin, the way that it spins around each other, pretty much they will never end exactly at the same spot unless you spin your singles both from the middle of a cake and the outside. That way you use it all. Well, I had 15 grams left, and I decided to try a chain ply. And so chain ply, also sometimes referred to as Navajo plying, is essentially making a crochet chain while you're spinning you're plying your yarn. So it makes a 3-ply out of 1-ply, which is pretty cool. This also, even though it's a 3-ply, I did add too much twist to this one. I don't know. Actually, it looks like it hangs okay. But there's a couple spots that I can tell are overspun. Like right here you can see some of it's just a little kinky. But this, for sure, even though it's technically a lace weight, this is going to be a square in my Cozy Memories. I'll have leftover. I don't know what the rest is going to go to, but super excited that this turned out. And I know for next time that I do a chain ply that I need to add a lot less twist, and that's going to help a lot. So that's kind of the fun thing about spinning for me, is that it's new, and so I'm therefore learning. And I've discovered something. I don't really love classroom learning, like don't give me a textbook kind of thing, but I do enjoy continuing to learn different things, especially something that produces something that I can use. So yes, so the chain ply, you'll notice this will have a lot less barber pulling. I should have shown you when it was still unwrapped, but I just don't want to wrap it again. The difference between these two are that this will mix colors a lot, and this should, like if it were a striping yarn, this would self-stripe because it keeps the colors together. All right, one last thing to show you guys. And that is what I'm currently spinning. So I went through my stash and wanted to try something else, but maybe not necessarily like a huge project. So I went for these roll eggs from Wild Time Art, who I found on Etsy. You can see the Etsy shop name there. And these were called her Spring Cleaning Mix. So, hey, stop. These were all rolled up nice and neat. I'll see if I can do that again. But yeah, that is what a roll egg looks like. I won't even begin to tell you how it's made because I really don't know the technical terms for things. But it's this long tube of fiber. And you'll notice it's a rainbow. And I do love me some rainbows. Also, I don't know if you'll be able to tell, there's some sparkle there. There is a ton of sparkle in this. And yeah, so once again, I'm learning a ton. I've never spun with sparkle. This also has a lot of different kind of fibers in it. I think there's some silk fiber. I know there's like sari silk, which is when you get the chunks of silk, like there's a yellow dot of it right there. But there's a lot inside that you just can't see. There's also like some really big chunks that look kind of like worms of yarn in there, like already made yarn. And I don't know what's up with that. I've actually been picking those out. There's not a ton of them. I think I've taken 3 or 4 out of the 2 roll eggs that I've spun so far. I have a total of 5, which is 2 ounces. So I have 3 to go. Yeah, so it's making a much more interesting kind of yarn. I would say it's not my style of yarn because, like I said, I'll show a picture of the bobbin up here, what I have on there so far. But it's not something that I would buy in a store. Like I might see it and think it's beautiful, but I really don't know what I'm going to use it for. I thought possibly when I'm done, maybe a cowl, but the designer, Wild Time, who made those roll eggs, she actually commented on a picture of my spinning and said it would be really good for a beret. I think she said beret. And I'm not much of a beret person either, so I don't know. But my plan for that one is to do a chain ply because it will kind of keep those color blocks together. I'm not quite sure what I'm doing wrong. Technically, I'm probably doing everything wrong, but even though I'm spinning them down the roll egg, sometimes the fiber's separating, so it's not 100% in color order, and that's okay. it's definitely a learning process. I actually just bought the Craftsy class from woolen to worsted, and it's very interesting, but I'm finding out, like, technically I'm doing nothing right. And so that's just kind of crazy to me, because for not doing anything right, I think that looks pretty darn good. So I know everyone has their own way of things. I'm tempted to try some of the techniques that, I can't remember her name, but the person who is teaching the Craftsy class, I'm tempted to try it out, but I definitely want to try it on some fiber that I don't have my heart set on, because I could definitely see it'd kind of be like starting all over again. And I think the strange thing for me is, she goes into a lot of how things are drafted, and that just isn't the way at all. Like, none of this was mentioned in my class. Now, my class was a very beginner class, and it was just basically draft your fiber however you can in order to get something that looks like yarn. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it right now. And I haven't finished it yet. I think I'm on the third section maybe. But yeah, I think that's about everything. As far as life stuff goes, I'm just busy knitting hats and hats and hats and more hats, and looking at hat patterns on Ravelry. That feels like it's been kind of consuming everything lately. But I have had a nice break from work. I had a doctor's appointment this Monday. And so I took the day off of work because I had to go like 2 hours away for the appointment, and it just seemed silly to come back to work for like an hour. So yeah, I spent 2 days at work this week, which is pretty fantastic. I think all work weeks should be 2 days long. But yeah, I can't think of anything else, guys. If you guys have any suggestions for my advent calendar project, how to incorporate those into that project, or like a garter shawl project, or any shawl where I can just keep knitting until I'm literally to my last scrap of yarn, that would be so helpful, because I really have some doubts about this working out. But it's kind of one of those things you don't really know until you actually try it. At least I don't. That's just how my brain works. So all right, guys, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate every single one of you that watch, and if you want to leave me a comment below, that's awesome. Any questions, you can also leave down below. And just a reminder, everything is on Ravelry. I keep quite extensive project notes and yarns and needle sizes, all that good stuff. So, yeah. Please like and subscribe if you haven't, and I will talk to you guys soon, hopefully this Friday. All right, bye guys.